Got the massive kit. Let's see. We got the gongs, the snares, the octobans, many drums,
This is
and
so
then
cool.
the wall of gongs. And I like to spend a lot of time back here, just kind of painting colors, musical colors. I would never bring a drum set this big anywhere, studio or on a stage, but
Yeah.
I'm at home, and it's like having a canvas and your palette. You want every color possible. Doesn't mean you're going to use them, but hey.
I love it. We have a lot to talk about. But before we get into everything, here at Bionic Buzz, we're all about people's passion. Where did your passion for music came from that makes you want to be a drummer? Was a certain album, a live performance, or something that was natural for you as a child?
Well, there's pictures of me playing bongos and congas as a 6, 7, 8-year-old, which I don't recall those times.
Wow.
But I recall seeing a great movie about Steve Allen was pretending to be or acting as Benny Goodman, but they actually had the real drummer Gene Krupa playing himself in the movie. So I remember I think I was 10 years old. They went to the Gene Krupa drum solo.
Uh-huh.
This conservative couple was at their table having drinks and dinner, and the husband was tapping his hand, and the wife looked at him and said, "You can't do that." And then the camera went to her foot, and she was tapping her feet. And I thought, all right, this is brilliant. It's athletic. It's in a sense competitive, but also it's a beautiful instrument. But it's one of the instruments that you really have to be somewhat of an athlete and somewhat in a sense directly connected with your hands and feet at all times. So
I used to play drums. It's definitely hard getting your limbs moving in different directions at times when I first started playing.
Yeah. Well, the playing the bongo is quite a different experience because you're just working on rhythms with your fingers or your hands. And then when you get to the drum set, it's like splitting your body in half. But so I remember being quite inspired by the Gene Krupa moment in that movie. And then, I took drums from like 8 or 9 years old till about 12, but I only played pillows and drum pads. I never had a drum set. So I really had this romance with my drumstick and learning how to bounce it off different surfaces without getting any real sound out of it. And so that became this dedication to learn how to hold the stick and technique, dedication to, the rudiments and really having the correct technique in bouncing the stick off surfaces. And at my bar mitzvah at 13, I got a drum set. And then it was it was like a rebirth because now I had to split my body in half and learn the pedals. And then I also had a different surface from cymbals to snare drum to tom-tom. And then I had volume and a musical instrument finally, not just pads and pillows. So that was like a rebirth. And that also like stimulated my love for music and drumming. And then watching people come over and react to the way I play. If it could have been a disco beat or a Black Sabbath beat or a Led Zeppelin moment, I would always play it for my friends and family and watch them get turned on. And so that was another reason for me to keep it somehow close to my heart, was this great relationship I was building with friends and family through music, which I didn't realize what was happening, but I love the feeling of it. And getting into what's been going on in the last 100 days, that's the one thing I really do feel is a hole in my life, is not playing music with people, in front of people. I have this beautiful drum set, and I also have a recording studio connected to this house, so I can record these drums. But
it's not the same about playing in front of people, Like you say, it's like painting in front of people,
Well, yeah, it's also a tennis match. You need someone to play with. And then when you play just you and another player, it's one game, but you get in front of a crowd, then it's a different type of game. And so I really miss the game. But, I'm very fortunate to still have this romance with the drumstick and bouncing it off a surface. Is it a cymbal? Is it a trash can? Is it a drum? It doesn't really matter. It's just really trying to pull some kind of, event out of my life and put it into music, into rhythm. And the greatest thing about rhythm, it's not when you hit, it's when you don't hit. And I reflect it almost like an MC Escher painting or a lithograph. He's got the white duck and the black duck. You know, they're both existing together. Your eye can focus on one or the other, but without the other, you lose that potent punch. So as a youngster, it was about speed and technique. And as I get older, it's about choices. When do you use your speed on the drum set? When do you use the technique? And when do you just follow the poem or the pace or the tempo or the guitar riff, whatever it is you're feeling, you know, all those things come into play. And you're listening back to some of the great Janes and Porno recordings, Infectious Grooves, it's all about choices. And, you know, the choices I made while I was in that circumstance at that age, and how to caress the poem and how to make the most of the song. And so, you know, you get better at it. It doesn't mean you make better choices, but you have more experience. And then, you know, these choices at least have something to stand on. But I would never change anything musically that I've done in my life, because I love exploring new space and then growing up and listening to what happened. It's not really about the song, it's about the whole experience of making it and what we were doing and what my life was like then, you know.
You
And
view
so,
like your albums you record in past like a time capsule, like just how you mean, you might play the drums differently today than was back in like in the 90s.
absolutely. You know, it is a postcard, and even the rock shows and festivals and jazz clubs around the world I've played. It's the actual playing the drum set. There's so many hours I've done that, but it's the people I meet. It's the sound of the response of those people. That's a real difference. And, you know, playing a small club is like what we're doing now. It's a conversation where nothing will disrupt or get in the way of this conversation. Playing a big venue, things get in the way because you see someone bungee jumping halfway down the, you know, the field, or you see a Ferris wheel, and all that is quite colorful, and it helps inspire music, and it definitely leads the way of the performance, but it's a different type of conversation. If someone else was in the room now while I'm speaking to you, I might get eyes with them and disconnect with you for a second, you know. And so that's not going to happen. It's just me and you. But that's kind of like the small club venue. You just connect with who's there, and nothing really derails. But those really big events, which I love, it's okay. Everyone gets derailed. And then there's that competitive spirit of like 10 other bands that just played before and after you. And some of them are on the side of the stage watching. So all helps the show become more potent for the viewer and the audience. You know, I love that about, you know, the bigger shows too.
Well, speaking of big shows, I've been on such a Woodstock '94 kick lately because I got to screen and interview the director for All You Can Say, the Shannon Blind Melon documentary, and they showed the performance there. And obviously, Porno of Pyro, what's a great set there. And for me, I was 13 at that time, staying at my friend's house, watching pay-per-view. Do you have any fun stories from like the '94 Lollapalooza and any fun memories? You know.
Yeah. Well, the
Woodstock. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Woodstock moment. There's a great. Well, you know, Porno for Pyros was always an organic band that wrote the music, kind of like at a campfire. We'd go to the beach with some bongos and acoustic guitar, and we'd write songs separate of what Jane's Addiction would do, which we'd write in a rehearsal studio with loud instruments. So the Porno music is, in a sense, very earthy and also kind of surf band. There's like a surf element to it. So we were really excited to bring that to Woodstock, and then we get the list. They had us between the Allman Brothers and Bob Dylan, and we're like, okay, let's start with that. That was just random and odd. And then I hadn't seen Navarro for a couple years, and he was playing with the Chili Peppers. So he was one of his first shows with the Chili Peppers was at Woodstock. So there's Dave, Porno, family reunion. Of course, Flea and Anthony have been part of my family and for many, many years. And I actually ended up flying my mom and dad and my sister out to the show. So they were there. And it was just a great family reunion and band reunion and LA West Coast reunion backstage. And you know, that started the night. But the performance, you know, we like to bring a little bit of the visual. We had the suicidal clown. We had the ballerina hanging from a rope. We had fire breathers, you know. So we did like to, we brought a little of the theatrical.
That's why I liked it. It was so memorable just for that aspect too.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, we really like to just have a good time. So it really started with the songs, and then the family and the friends, and then getting on stage and getting freaky. And of course, taking a helicopter from Manhattan up the Hudson River into Woodstock. What a moment to see a crowd like that as you fly in with a helicopter.
Oh my goodness.
Unbelievable. Just a great feeling. And to have my family there and Dave Navarro, and, you know, so it was just a great night for us. Looking at the performance, I love the music and the set and the sequence, how we put the things in what order.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and Perry was on point. He always says some very poignant things that really stir the thought process.
Oh yeah, especially his speech before Pets. I remember. I was like, "We're all one," you know.
Yeah, man. So that's the beautiful thing about being on stage is letting the singer, if the guy or girl has got the urge to say something, is to be able to move and musically support that, you know, or be ready for that, and let the song either be the transition or the actual the glue between these great stories, you know.
Well, speaking of Porno for Pyros, I guess you guys are reunited for Lollapalooza, I guess, tonight. What you guys just jammed in like a backyard, it looks like, recently, you know?
Right. So it's been almost 25 years since we played. We do see each other all the time. So that's, you know, the friendships are always there, but to actually be a band and do the songs, it's been years. So we did get together. We played all afternoon, and I think we maybe played 10 or 12 songs that day, but we're only going to use 1 or 2 or maybe 3 for the Lola performance tonight. But it felt so great to be together and to play the songs that, like I said earlier, were formed on the beach and a campfire, to bring that kind of energy back and to see each other, especially in the last 100 days where everyone's been separated, to see each other and make music, you know, and then to film it and to capture the real raw emotion of an unrehearsed, unplanned moment for the band. And it was spontaneous. And I think that that's the most important thing. It healed me. It was really cathartic to just be together with the guys. So I think no matter what it sounds like, which it did sound beautiful, it sounded like heaven. But what we captured was 3 or 4 friends. Mike Watt joined us on bass. So we had a wonderful family gathering in a backyard playing Porno songs.
Oh,
and,
so you said two of the songs are going to play tonight. Are the other ones going to get released at some point, or?
I mean, I don't see why not, because they were just fantastic emotional performances, and, you know, why just leave them on the cutting room floor, so to speak.
Awesome.
So yeah, there's definitely hopefully a future for more Porno music, and you know, live performances are really the goal. Streaming is a way to get through this, but I can't wait to be, you know, in a situation where we don't even need to count how many people are in the room compared to what the capacity is of the room. Those are discussions, you know, for safety, but just to play in front of people, you know, that'd be great. Why not book it, you know, book a 10,000 seater and play for 1,000 people?
Exactly. Yeah. I'll take anything right now. I miss live music so badly.
It's so true. And, you know, I'm 52. I'll be 53 in September. Yeah. And since I was 13, 14, I've been playing gigs 3 times a month, maybe 3 times a week. I know, just constantly doing gigs or sessions. And so that is definitely a piece of my identity that is being tested. But the love for the music and the urge to do it more is just growing and growing. So that's kind of cool. I mean, in a sense, people are either going to get very out of focus with this mess or get focused, you know, and hopefully the silver lining and the light at the end of the tunnel is great art, great music, you know, more curiosity in these things, and tolerance, of course, which we all should, you know, learn how to not let things get to us, because they're just, life is so quick. Even if you live to 105 years old, it's pretty damn, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's not that long. So even the old people go quick, you know? So I really, I love the listening to music I've made and listening to other bands that are working on new music today is inspiring. And I was talking to Perry about how his lyrics and my rhythms are going to reflect these times. And just like when I listen to African rhythms, I can see an elephant or a rhino walking when I hear those rhythms. And when I listen to dubstep or something, I can hear a city stopping at the red lights and moving. And what's going to come of this mess of all this at home time and I guess in a sense discovery of technology, even though a lot of it was already existing, now we're using it like right now.
Yeah, like Zoom, you know, everyone's using it now.
So the technology is being, tested and used. So, there's definitely going to be a new type of sound and art, but I'm excited to see what it is and what it's going to sound like, because even during the terrible times of our history, there was art being made, Picasso, Dali, Rembrandt, who knows what was happening outside their door, but they continued, and Beethoven, Mozart, whatever was happening in the times, at least the music and the art can carry it on. And we can look back at those times and say, yeah, a lot of bad things happened. Also look at the beautiful art and the Renaissance and the movement and the fashion and the poetry and the language. So I do feel there is going to be of course, like you said, the want to see a band and go to a museum, but there's also going to be new content and a good reason for all that,
Exactly. I want to get back to Woodstock real quick. Another one of my favorite performances, obviously, was 9 Inch Nails, and they were promoting Pyros Spiral at the time. You ended up recording one of their tracks song, I Do Not Want This. I mean, that was a crazy drum fill on that. How did you end up recording the song and then obviously working and performing with Trent and 9 Inch Nails later on?
Well, I met Trent. He opened up for Jane's before Lollapalooza. So 89 and 90, we were doing shows with 9 Inch Nails, and big fan of obviously everything he is hybrided together, and he takes it like I do as a romantic journey. He's dedicated. But so as Lollapalooza came to an end, he actually missed the last two shows. He went out to England and played some shows with GNR at Wembley. So the last two Lollapaloozas had Violent Femmes and Fishbone in place of 9 Inch Nails. That was 1991. But so we traded numbers, and I said, if you ever need anything, I would love to be part of something. And yeah, he called out and he said he was working on a record. He had Tommy Lee play some drums on that one. Of course, he programs a bunch of different things and layers. And there's many drummers in Chicago and in New York and LA that he works with. But we spent the day at A&M Records, which is now called Henson Records. And it's on Sunset and La Brea. And we spent, I think, from 10 to 10, we're 12-hour day of drum beats, conversations, coffee, more drumming, different tempos, put up the click track at 90 BPM, 100 BPM, 120. And I just layered and gave him everything I could think of. And a few months later, he sent me the tune. He said, I chopped it up. I did this and that. This is what we're working on for the new record. And I think it came out just brilliant. It had attitude. It had personality. It had my personality, but it didn't stick out as just, there was a reason for that drum beat. It held it together. There was glue. And we take the sounds and change throughout the song. And I love the brilliance of that production. And I think he used some of those other drum beats and drum samples later on while producing Marlyn Manson, because Marlyn said some of my drumming ended up on his first record,
really?
Which Trent produced.
That's cool. So, I didn't know that.
You do the session, you trade ideas, and you move on. But those pieces that you leave are always in the sample library. And Trent, I don't think any great musician or producer would put anything to waste if you can use it later on, even if you don't use it for that actual recording session. But great experience. And later on, we did the Ninja Tour, Jane's and 9 Inch Nails. Yeah. And we recorded 3 songs with Trent. 2.5 came out pretty damn good. No one really heard them. But I think it was just a little too premature to get us in a studio as Jane's Addiction. But Trent was very gracious and helped us get us through like the 2 weeks of sessions. But we hadn't been a band for many years, so we thought, well, Trent's here, we're a band, let's go record. But it was a learning experience. It may have not been the goal that we wanted to get. We never got there. I don't think anybody was through the final product, so we just put it to bed for a bit. But it was, you know, like anything, it's the experience. It's not just really what comes out of it. It's going through it. But, you know, Trent is just a brilliant, sensitive musician.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I like. I like sensitivity in music, and I like to explore and hybrid. Well, like when I grew up, I loved jazz drummers. No one I knew played jazz. So I had to listen to my rock influence with that jazz ear perked up, and you hear jazz drummers in rock and roll constantly.
It's amazing because I started playing jazz in college, and I didn't realize how much it influenced rock drummers, you know, because I just listened to rock growing up, you know. So
absolutely. I mean, and some of my favorite moments in music is the hybrid when they leave their roots behind and try something new. And I love when you know, even if you fall on your face, you try. And I think that's what music and art really needs to have, a reflection of today and not repeat yesterday, because, you know, we're not living yesterday, we're living now. So what does it feel like to make music now? And as I first started drums, I wanted to replicate my heroes, but then you realize you can't. So try to find your own voice, you know, and I was lucky to be surrounded by musicians with Janes, Infectious, Porno, Banyan. Everybody had their own voice and was very interested in the other musician's voice. We would never put a cap on it, you know, and let it grow.
Yeah, you end up doing the percussions for Rage Against the Machines and Know Your Enemy, their first album. I mean, they've gone on to become, you know, huge, legendary band. But at the time, I mean, at least for me growing up in Maryland, they were just unknown band. How did you get hooked up playing with them? I mean, performing on that song.
Also, Tom Morello had a band called Lock Up that would open up for Jane's Addiction.
Oh, okay. I feel like there's some connection.
I know him in like 88, 89. And then we started jamming quite a bit at my home studio just to get our yayas out. And Rage's first big show was opening up for Porno for Pyros at a place called Castaic Lake here in LA. We didn't do a venue. We rented out a big stage and brought it to a lake and had a party. So me and Perry knew Tom.
Just up like by Big Bear, or where's the lake at? You know?
This is Castaic Lake.
Okay.
So kind of near Valencia, Magic Mountain.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Six Flags. Gotcha. Yeah,
out that direction. Exactly. So me and Perry knew about Tom through all the other bands and other sessions he's done. And then we heard he had a new band called Rage. We went to see them at the Lingerie, which is 100 people. And they put on a show that you would see for 100,000 people. And we like, it'd be great to have you guys on board. And so, you know, the friendship is many years prior to Rage. But, you know, like LA's got a small circle of musicians. I mean, there's a lot of us, but the deep pool is getting more shallow with great musicians. You know, there's many players, but not that many great ones. So when you're really a great player like Tom, you resurface, you get to know everybody, you know, like Flea, you know, like the Cats in No Doubt, you know, you end up seeing them over and over in different places and appreciating what they do and becoming friends. And even though we all have different camps, you know, but basically it's the same camp. We just have different tents. You know, we're all camping out together, but we all have our own little separate tent. And then we call each other, hey, can I borrow your drummer? Can I check out your bass player? And you know, Flea helped out Jane's Addiction and Porno for Pyros. And, you know, I helped whoever needs, if it's not really help, but it's just like, you know, I can lend a hand shaking something or banging something. I love to be part of it.
I love it. Before I let you go, is anything you're working on you're allowed to talk about? Anything that works, you know?
Absolutely. Well, right now, me and Scott Page, who's a saxophonist for Pink Floyd and Supertramp and Toto and, you know, some of the great bands from the 70s and 80s. Like I said, my love for jazz finally came true. I met a saxophone player.
Cool. I'll be interviewing him later, actually. So
yeah, great. So we have a band called Think EXP, and right now we're doing Think Floyd. And basically we reimagined the Pink Floyd music. We had a little more muscle, a little more bite. And we've been doing really well. Before COVID, we were doing these incredible shows in LA, 360 Dome, where the band
the Wisdom in downtown LA, right? Yeah.
People don't look at the band, they look at the ceiling, and you know, they trip out on the experience up there. So that's been very in a sense very kind of like what Jane's Addiction would do, or Porno. It's a visual experience as well as an audio experience. So
I went to Jimi Hendrix experience there. It was amazing. It is weird because you kind of lay down and look up. You're not really a good band, but I was like, more concerts need to be like this. This is great.
Yeah, I have my 10-year-old come with all his friends. They all got bean bags. You know, finally I'm a hero because I'm playing a gig where the band's not important. It's the visuals, man. It's the virtual. So that's been very great in a sense, the Jane's Addiction and Porno world of making that visual experience part of the whole event. And that's what I love about Think. And then Jane's and Porno, we played last week and it's been years. So that gives me hope. That gives me a lot of hope. And I've also got my home studio and I'm thinking about opening the doors and doing sessions for people at Perkins Palace. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work, but I have a lot of time. I've got a beautiful drum room. So, hey, let's go, send me your files. And I'm also working on a few different projects. One is called Perkins Palace Records, and I'm thinking about having a label.
Oh.
And not too many people care about the actual product, but they like new music. So I want to find a way to get new music out there on Perkins Palace Records. And it's not about selling records. It's about getting music out to people and letting my friends and family get their music out. So that's a big goal.
It goes back to your passion for music, man. And obviously you seem to have a huge amount for that.
That's all there is. And now I've got my 10-year-old playing guitar, and we play a lot together in this room. I mean, he always wants a drummer his age. Of course, he's 10, I'm 53. So he's like, yeah, you're a little old for the band, Dad, but I still got a fat pocket, man. So before we go, let me give you a little of this.
Yeah, please. Oh, I love that.
So I really appreciate you giving the world some information about how to be positive.
Exactly. That's all we're about at Bionic Buzz is, positive vibes, talking about people's passion. So thank you so much, Stephen. And hopefully we'll see you live at some point,
Absolutely. Enjoy the gong. See you later, man.